I am perfectly imperfect. And you don't get to 65 years of life and not have people disappoint you that you trusted. That's part of the evolution of life. But I never broke a law. I never violated my role as the mayor. Many people never read the indictment. I was facing 33 years in prison for that. 33 years in prison. The story was never told. And so now I have the obligation of making sure my story is going to be told. The migrant and asylum seekers crisis had a major impact on cities and the functionality of cities.
Right.
Then where did we send them? We send them to Chicago, Black mayor. We send them to Los Angeles, Black mayor. We send them to Houston, Black mayor. We send them to New York, Black mayor. So I wanted to go to the origin of the continent of Africa, which is the cradle of all humankind, and reconnect with our ancestors. Walk in some of those dungeons where our loved ones and our ancestors didn't see the sun, had to exist in even their own ways, but they survived. We survived. It showed our resiliency. And I wanted to draw on that resiliency as I started the journey of becoming the mayor. And little did I know I was going to need that resiliency. I'm an American, but I never want anyone to forget I'm African.
From the streets of Brownsville to the steps of City Hall, Eric Adams' journey is anything but ordinary. A former NYPD officer turned reformer, a borough president who vowed to make the city work for everyone, and now the 110th mayor of New York City, the economic capital of the United States and the city with the largest GDP in the world. When he was elected in 2021, Adams became just the second Black mayor in New York's 400-year history, and he stepped into office at a time of deep uncertainty when the city was still recovering from a pandemic, confronting rising crime, grappling with affordability, and searching for leadership it could trust. Since then, he's faced praise and protest, setbacks and comebacks, policy wins and political landmines. And now, as he seeks another term, the spotlight is back on him, brighter than ever. Today, I sit down with one of the most consequential and controversial mayors in modern American politics. In this rare and wide-ranging conversation, we're not just talking politics, we're talking purpose. We explore the moments that shaped him, the controversies that tested him, the policies he champions, and why he wants New Yorkers to bet on him again. This is the story behind the headlines, the man behind the mayor. Welcome to The Seat, a Breakdown exclusive. All right, Mr. Mayor. So we want to get to know you a little bit. We want to get to know our mayor, if that's okay. So I want to start off with some rapid questions.
Yes.
Just the first thing that comes to your mind, if that's okay.
Yes.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So what's on your playlist right now? What are you listening to?
Different music. I like classical. I like a little rap. I listen to my son's new album that he's putting out. So it varies. You know, I'm known to exercise to blues and Beethoven. I just enjoy the sound.
Any Afrobeat?
Yes. I love, I download a lot of Afro beats, no favorite one artist. I just love the sound of it.
Yes, very good, very good. What's a good book that you've read lately?
Probably the glucose factor. It talks about how to eat to prevent your blood sugar from spiking. And it's very informative and I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, Ghana jollof or Nigeria jollof?
That's a tough one. I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm gonna say Ghana, Nigeria.
Ghana, Nigeria, Nigeria.
Nigeria. Right.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up?
Give thanks to God, the ancestors, meditate, breathe, and do a little exercise and grab a green smoothie and get ready for the day.
What's the best piece of advice your mom ever gave you?
If you live long enough, you're going to find yourself in dark places. That's not a burial, it's a planting. Be still and let God work on you.
What's one thing you wish people knew about you?
Great question. I'm an introvert. Yeah, socially awkward. And sometimes people think that's off-putting. It's just that Uh, you know, I have to work hard to be in large gatherings.
What's harder, being a cop, a vegan, or mayor?
I like to say I'm plant-based, but I think both the role of a police officer and a mayor comes with a level of uncertainties that you have to be ready to adjust based on what's in front of you. Just as we saw at 345 Park Avenue, where that officer Islam did not know his day was going to meet that level of violence. And so I think that both of them really demand you to be ready for the moment.
If you could snap your fingers and fix one issue in New York City instantly, what would it be?
Probably, wow, public safety. I would like to really continue to make the city the safest city in America. But being a victim of a criminal action really impacts the individual and the family members that are involved.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned since becoming mayor?
Ignore the noise.
Your next trip to Africa, where would you like to go?
I'm putting together a 5-country tour in November, and we're still deciding these countries we would like to visit. I am probably the only mayor outside of Bloomberg. I don't know, I'm not sure if he traveled to Africa, but I've been to Africa 7 times, and each country brought their own uniqueness. Like Nigeria, I think I landed on a Wednesday and didn't sleep again until Sunday.
I'll die. You loved it that much, right?
Lagos was amazing.
Yeah. So then this is a great segue into my question about your trip to Ghana. When you were elected mayor, one of the first things you did was to travel to Ghana, and you said that was a spiritual experience for you. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think that sometimes, when you think about it, Einstein talked about that energy could never be destroyed or created. And if we're made up of energy, then our energies of our ancestors is still here. And quantum physics says in order to see or feel something, you have to acknowledge the existence of it. And when you put them both together, if I want to feel and experience the energy of my ancestors, then I have to acknowledge their existence. And so I wanted to go to the origin of the continent of Africa, which is the cradle of all humankind, and reconnect with our ancestors and visit some of the locations that were put in place during slavery, walk in some of those dungeons where our loved ones and our ancestors didn't see the sun, had to exist in even their own ways, but they survived. We survived. It showed our resiliency. And I wanted to draw on that resiliency as I started the journey of becoming the mayor. And little did I know I was going to need that resiliency based on what I had to endure. But anytime and every time I felt I was going through something, I would just close my eyes and think about that mother who gave birth in that dungeon and still was able to continue her life. We are resilient.
That is a powerful experience, going through the Elmina Castle. And, recently we've seen many people of African descent seeking that reconnection with Africa, right? Whether it's through travel or investment, partnerships, through culture. What do you make of the significance of that? And how do you think that momentum could be leveraged to deal the future of the global Black world?
No, so true. And I believe you're right, because I also traveled to Goree Island to go to the door of no return. And that was during the 400th year return, and a large number of Africans from the diaspora returned. And I believe that there's a reconnection that is taking place. And we are learning more and more about our history and learning how do we use the talents we have across the globe in general, but specifically here in America, to say, let's reinvest in Africa. Let's think about returning to Africa. There's some countries that are allowing us to have our citizenship, and we should take advantage of that like others do. Others really hold on to the origin of their homeland, and I think we need to do that. It needs to be more than just something we say, we need to actually implement and make it happen. And that is what I attempted to do as the mayor. I'm an American, but I never want anyone to forget I'm African.
So Africa is at a crossroads right now, right? For a very long time, the African economy has been dependent on raw materials. And it's finally waking up and realizing that we need to do things differently. We need to move for more value creation. I'm curious, as the mayor of one of the largest cities in the world by GDP, how do you see the role that New York City can play in Africa's economic rise? And what type of win-win strategic partnership would you like to see?
I think there are a number of things that we need to create real partnerships around education. Our young people need to know each other, particularly with technology now. We used to have pen pals back when I was a child, but now we could have Google Hangouts, Google Chat. We could have other ways of using Zoom, WebEx, TikTok. But we need to know each other, and our young people need to speak with each other, and our elders should speak with each other as well and do that connection. Second is culture. We need to really understand the culture of the continent and embrace it here in the country. And in that culture, there's a lot of, I think, economics around the art, the dance, the music. As you were saying, Afrobeats has become extremely popular here. Everything from bringing the artists here, holding major shows. We have an organization here called Afropunk. They throw a large concert each year.
Yeah.
And a third is business, bringing over our business leaders and bringing delegations to Africa like others do, and talk about what business interests. When I was in, I believe it was either Ghana or Senegal, where they're now taking claim of their cocoa products. They're making their own chocolate. Historically, a lot of the chocolate that is produced, the raw material comes from Africa, but then we send it abroad to Sweden and other places to make the chocolate. I think there's no reason we can't have a direct connect. Why we need the middleman anymore? Rubber, some of the raw materials that's available, textiles, technology. We're seeing a real rapid increase in the technology. And then those of us who are here can share our knowledge and expertise with the continent as they start the process of building out from everything from nonprofits that's dealing with education. Many parts of the rural areas of the continent is not having quality education. But now with technology, we could have classroom without walls. So there's so much we can do together, but we should map out a real blueprint and not let it just happen haphazardly.
So for African leaders, and I want to talk a bit more about the business side of it, because right now Africa is looking for new partners and it is reaching out. So for leaders there who may be watching and say, how do we collaborate, partner with the city of New York? What would you say to them?
Yeah, great question. We should connect with our chambers. We have many chambers of commerce here in the city, and we have many African American Chamber of Commerce. We need to connect with the commerce so we can have a business-to-business connection. And then we should find out about the economic development plans in our cities. We have what's called EDC, where we want easy landing places for people who want to start businesses, and find out what business opportunities are available. When you look at the multi-billion-dollar procurement we do for goods and services, there's no reason we're not doing some of those procurements through the continent of Africa.
Coming up, a candid reflection from the mayor. We discuss his record over the past 4 years, his own assessment of his performance, the challenges he's faced, and whether he believes he has truly delivered on his promises to New Yorkers. So let's shift gears to talk about the past 4 years, okay? In your 2021 victory speech, you said, and I quote, "I ran for mayor because I wanted to turn pain into purpose. This city betrays New Yorkers every day, especially the ones who rely on it the most. My fellow New Yorkers, this betrayal stops on January 1st. We are going to make a difference." Nearly 4 years later, do you believe that you've lived up to that promise?
Yes.
And in what tangible ways?
And that is what I'm proud the most about. I made promises to New Yorkers. And the beauty of that speech and many of the items that I put out in the universe, you could go back and say, okay, here's what he talked about. Let's see how he responded. I talked about housing. And when you look 3 years later, in individual years, we built and financed and preserved and built out a plan for more housing than any mayor in the recorded history of this city. We did a massive reform on housing that has never been done before in the city. We moved more people out of homelessness into permanent housing in those individual years than any mayor in the history of the city in individual years. We're on a pathway of building 426,000 new units of housing. It was a goal we've had of 500,000 units. We're doing it. Public safety. I said we must be safe as a city. It's the prerequisite to our prosperity. The numbers are not lying. Over close to 23,000 illegal guns off our streets. And this year, the first 6 months, we had the lowest number of shootings and homicides in the recorded history of this city. And we continue that success in July as well. And then when you look at about people needing services, we put $30 billion back in the pockets of working class people. In this city, if you're a low-income New Yorker, you pay no income tax at all. We dropped the cost of childcare from $220 a month to less than $20 a month. We have universal after school. We're moving towards universal pre-K. We are silencing and paying off medical debt for working class New Yorkers. And what we're doing with foster care children, paying their college tuition, giving them life coaches until they're 21 years old so they can go on with their lives and get the support that they deserve. So I point to all of those areas. I said I was going to turn around our economy. We have more jobs in New York in the history of the city. We broke the record 10 times of continuously breaking the record in employment. More small businesses are operating in our city in the history of the city. But the beauty of it, we had a pathway of what we wanted to do for the city. We didn't miss that pathway even with the crises that we faced. COVID, migrants and asylum seekers, the lawfare that I experienced personally, we still stayed on track and we delivered for New Yorkers. I lived up to my promise. I knew New Yorkers were betrayed. I was betrayed as a child living in poverty, and I said I was not going to allow that to happen in this administration.
You recently said in an interview that your story has not been told.
Yes.
And I thought it was interesting because you're the mayor of, New York City, and I would imagine that the spotlight is always on you, right? Yes. So what did you mean by that?
It's very interesting. I reflect on the Dinkins years and what the first African-American mayor went through and how he was successfully turning around this city. And no one really knew the story of David Dinkins. During that time, our city became safer because he did something called Safe City, Safe Streets, and got an additional funding for more police officers. The finance of the city was improving under his watch, and he just really turned around the city. But others got the benefits from it and benefited from it. And that's the same here. When you go to the average New Yorker and you ask, what did the mayor do around housing? What did the mayor do around technology, employment, and economy? They don't know the story. The story was never told because the mistake we made, we thought that the tabloids would, of course, point out any things we do that's incorrect, but they would talk about the good things that we've done so New Yorkers can benefit and receive the resources. That did not happen. And so when you speak to the average New Yorker, they say, we didn't know that. And so now I have the obligation of making sure my story is going to be told of how we turned the city around in 3 years. They told me it was going to take me 5 years. It took me 3 years to turn the city around.
Wow, I'm glad that you brought up David Dinkins, the city's first Black mayor, and the parallel that you draw there. I want to ask you about that because, like you said, just like you, he faced intense scrutiny, right, during his mayorship, and he eventually lost the re-election. Now, you're unfortunately in the same situation where you've lost the Democratic seat, right? But you're now running as an independent. So I want to ask you, how do you think about Black political power, right, in the city of New York and in America, right, overall? Is it that the system is working against Black leaders when they're elected, or is it the opposite, that the leaders are then failing the people who put them in office? How do you view that? I would love to hear.
I think that's a great and that's a fair question. So first I want to point out, I did not run in the Democratic primary, so I did not lose in the primary. I made the determination to run as an independent, but I'm still a Democrat. The rules allow you to do that, and this gives me an opportunity to run in a general election because I'm the sitting mayor. And so I'm ready to see who came out of the primary, and I am facing them. And second, these, people may say that, hey, it's unfair what happens, but the system never promised us fair. What has been promised to us is to build on our resiliency. We're not asking anyone to give us anything more than anyone else that's the mayor. When you look at the mayors across the country and you see what they inherited, and that is part of what happened in these last few years. The migrant and asylum seekers crisis had a major impact on cities and the functionality of cities.
Right.
Then where did we send them? We sent them to Chicago, Black mayor. We sent them to Los Angeles, Black mayor. We sent them to Houston, Black mayor. We sent them to New York, Black mayor. So when Black mayors were building and pulling their own cities out of crises, we all of a sudden had the national government put a Herculean task on us. We didn't sit back and complain. We still said people did not elect us to define the problem. They elected us to solve the problem. So in spite of COVID, in spite of migrant and asylum seekers, we moved forward. And we sent a strong message. Not only did I do it as a Black mayor, as an African-American mayor, look at the administration. The successes that I was able to do in difficult times, it was an African-American and it was an administration of color. Had the first Indian-American to be a deputy mayor, first Filipino-American, first Trinidadian-American, first African to be a commissioner over international affairs, first African-American woman to be the first deputy mayor, first African-American to be a woman to be in charge of the police department and other areas, first Korean-American to be in charge of small business services. So when you looked at the administration, it was not only that we were successful in navigating the complexities of the city, but we also showed all of those people of color who had to sit on the bench and watch others jump over them and take the credit for their work. They finally were on the field and they brought home the goal.
I have to follow up with this because we see that a lot of the criticism of Black leaders come from our own community.
Yes.
Right? That's the reality. What do you think about that? And are we setting unrealistic expectations when we elect
Great question.
our leaders into office?
Great question. It's not lost in our community the term crabs in the barrel. My desire as being mayor is saying, why must crabs be in the barrel in the first place? I want them out of the barrel. If they're not in the barrel, they're not going to climb over each other. They're going to find their full personhood and their own mission instead of just trying to climb over each other. So they throw us in a barrel. They throw us in a barrel in poverty. They throw us in a barrel in the slums of our country. They throw us in an environment where we feel that, you know what, I must climb over you because we are restricted. But if we take us out of the barrel and destroy the barrel, we won't have to go after each other. And yes, we know that there are pains that people are feeling. And when they wake up in the morning and look in the mirror, I look like them. And so they're not happy with their own lives. And so they're going to be hard on themselves. They're going to be hard on me. And I understand that. And I'm sure the mayors of these major cities and the leaders of these major cities, that's part of the problem that we have to resolve and not complain about it. I have to deliver for the people of this city. And that is all I know. And I get up every day. And so I don't say, woe is me. I say, why not me? I am resilient and I'm committed and I'm dedicated. And no matter what happens, I'm going to fulfill my obligation to the people that elected me.
Coming up, the mayor shares his side of the story on the scandal that shook his administration, making him the first sitting mayor in the city's history to face federal prosecution. I have to ask about the crisis or scandal that rocked your administration, and I just want you to reflect on that, right? What would you like our audience who are listening and still are viewing you from the point of view of what they read in the news, right? What would you like to tell them? How do you reckon with what happened?
First, I am perfectly imperfect. And you don't get to 65 years of life and not have people disappoint you that you trusted. That's part of the evolution of life. But I never broke a law. I never violated my role as the mayor. Many people never read the indictment, and I was not able to really go in depth because, lawyers don't want you talking about cases that are ongoing. And I'm happy that I'm free to expound on it more now. And when people looked at what I was being charged with, I was being charged with calling the fire department, asking them to do an inspection. It was their job to do an inspection of a building. The president of Turkey was coming here. I didn't tell them to pass the building. I didn't tell them to violate any rule. I just said, go do an inspection. They looked at that and said, for several years on your paid flight, when you got on the plane, you got an upgrade. It's not a gift according to ethics standards. There was nothing that I did wrong, but they used that to say, we're going to charge you with bribery because you called the fire department to actually do an inspection. I was facing 33 years in prison for that. 33 years in prison. I believe this all came about because I was telling the White House, you have to stop hurting this city with the migrants and asylum seeker crisis. And I wasn't the only person that was targeted. You look at the highest ranking African-American lieutenant governor in the city. His name was Brian Benjamin. He was also brought up on corruption charges by the same prosecutor. And the judge dropped his case because it was incorrect to do so. And so when you look at that prosecutor, when he left office, he put up a website as though he was running for office, and he used our cases as his trophy. There were ulterior motives that even people in his office questioned what were his actions. And so it was unfair what happened, but I had to push through. And if you look at the day I was indicted and look at what we have accomplished since then, you'll see that I never stopped working for the people of the city. I continue to deliver. I continue to build houses. I continue to break records on business. I continue to go after and assist low-income New Yorkers. I continue to make sure that I did the job that I was elected to carry out.
Ooh, Mayor, one of the things that I know a lot of people talk about is your relationship with President Trump. People say you're best friends. Is it true? Are you best friends? Can you clear up what's your relationship like with President Trump right now?
And first, that's the narrative that many people, particularly in the media, that never thought I can turn the city around. If you do an analysis of how I was covered, they were always looking for something like that to create a narrative. And if you tell a lie long enough, people start to believe it's true. Let's deal with the facts, though. I took the White House and this administration to court more than any mayor in the country. No other mayor in the country have taken legal actions against the administration like I have. When I needed the president to bring resources to this city, I went and spoke with him and got it done. For example, what's called the Empire Wind Farm project, multi-billion-dollar project, 1,400 to 1,500 union jobs, 500,000 homes will receive electricity for it. His administration put a stop work order on a project. I flew to Washington. I met with the president, explained what we needed. He said, let me look into it. He lifted that stop work order. That's what mayors are supposed to do. I spoke with President Biden to fight for this city. I will fight for this city no matter who's in the White House. And I respect the flag, not the individuals, but what the flag stands for. That flag means a lot to me because I had a 19-year-old uncle that died defending the flag. He didn't agree in the 60s with everything the White House was doing. He didn't agree with national politics, but when the country called, he responded. When you respect the office, then you won't focus on who's in the office. But I do want to thank the president. When I was under these charges, unfairly being prosecuted, I didn't know him. I never met him. We never interacted. He was on the campaign trail saying that's wrong what they're doing to the mayor of the city of New York. That should not be happening. And his Justice Department looked into the case and made the determination that the charges were unfair. It was lawfare. And because of their actions, the charges were dismissed. And I don't know about you, but if you were facing 33 years in prison for something you didn't do, and someone came along and said that this is unfair what's happening to you, and the charges get dismissed because of that, I don't know if you would say thank you, but I say thank you. And also, Mommy used to tell me, God uses who he uses.
Mr. Mayor, few mayors in New York City's history have sparked as much conversation, right, or controversy and attention, both inside and outside of City Hall, as you have. What has power cost you personally, politically, and spiritually?
Not much. I have not lost ground. I came into the mayoralty with my dignity and my respect, and I'm going to leave that way. What I'm proud of the most is that often people fall to their knees under the pressure of politics and they crawl their way out of office. I walked in standing up, and I'm going to leave that way. Some people say, well, you're arrogant, you're too proud. That's what people don't want us to be. I'm proud of coming through a life of learning disabilities. I'm proud of a life of living in poverty. I'm proud of serving for 22 years in the police department. I'm proud that someone shooting at my car did not break me. I'm proud that even when they yelled for me to step down, I stepped up. I'm proud I became the man that my mother wanted me to be. And so all that you do comes with that. A child from Brownsville that becomes the mayor of the most important city on the globe, you better expect a lot of stuff to come at you.
In the midst of all the noise, the scrutiny, and the pressure, you mentioned resilience. What keeps you going?
Of having a clear understanding of the power of our ancestors and the power of God. My faith is strong. My faith is resilient. And I know but God. And when you looked over this journey, if you could look over this journey without walking away with saying, but God.
Coming up, the mayor makes his case for a second term, why he's asking New Yorkers to put their trust in him again in this November's election. Mr. Mayor, my final question for you, because our time is limited. Looking ahead to November 2025, you're asking New Yorkers to bet on you again. What's your message to those who are watching?
Well, I'm going to tell them, peel back the noise. Do what independent bond raters have done. Those are the determining groups and entities that determine how well a city has been managed. They raise my bond because they don't listen to the noise of those who want to distort the truth. I'm asking New Yorkers, do you feel safer? Do you see your children learning as we outpace the state in reading and math? Are you seeing housing being built around you? If you're a low-income New Yorker, do you benefit from the tax breaks? Do you benefit from the excusing medical debt? If you're a foster child, do you benefit from the college tuition? If you are a parent worrying about what your child is doing after school, do you benefit from the universal after-school program? If you're fighting for child care for your baby because you want to go back to work, do you benefit from the free pre-K and 3K that I'm doing? If you live on a block where violence was erupting and disrupting your way of life, do you benefit from the 23,000 illegal guns I removed off the streets? And if you're a NYC resident and you couldn't get access to high-speed broadband, do you benefit from the free high-speed broadband that I've given you? I'm asking them to look over their lives, sit back, and ask themselves, if you are a struggling New Yorker, did your mayor put in place not broken promises, but real solutions and policies that improved in your life?
And for our audience who represent the African diaspora here, right? And I know you love the diaspora. We've seen you at many events in New York, in New York City. What's your message for them? They want to hear from you on what you're doing to, invest in them, to create economic opportunities. So what's your message for them?
A very clear one. No one has done it like me. More Africans have come through Gracie Mansion, the place where we receive people.
Yes.
Come here in City Hall. The relationship they have with this administration, they never had before with any administration. And we need to build on that. We need to bring them into city government so they can provide the goods and services from their constituencies. Because Africa is not a monolithic location. Many different countries, many different asks. And as I watch my brothers and sisters from Ghana, Nigeria, Ivory Coast, South Africa, and other parts of the continent, we have received them. And now let's build on that relationship. Another 4 years, we're going to make sure not only do we have business opportunities, but you're going to see the African faces in our administration, like you see with Asata as the first African Commissioner of International Affairs. That is what they could expect in the future with this administration. We've come too far to go back.
Yes. I'm so glad you mentioned Aissata, and I wanted to congratulate both you and her for that historic appointment and to ask just the importance of that level of representation. Aissata has been fighting for New Yorkers in the city for a very long time, and she is now the first African-born, the first Muslim woman to lead the Commission of International Affairs. So why was that appointment important for you?
When you kick open a door or shatter glass ceilings, it is not for you to walk through alone. You must walk through others who are prevented to get through. And so now young Muslim women, young girls somewhere in some school is going to watch Asata stand up and say, I'm the Commissioner of International Affairs. And she's going to realize under this administration, there are no boundaries. There are no boundaries. You can be who you want to be because you have a mayor who wanted to be mayor, and he's mayor.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. They're telling me my time is up, so I have to let you go. But this was wonderful. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure being here.
All right.